Hello everyone, it's your girl Lady Naomi. I'm here today to talk about the new show on FX called Pose. Okay, so this show really hits home for me, and I normally wouldn't really even do a review on a show like this. But the show really hits home for me. This show is the perfect show for someone who has a trans relative, okay? Like someone like if your mom or your father or your sibling is trans and you don't understand the trans lifestyle and stuff like that, especially if you're an ethnic type of person, because I feel like ethnic people take it a little harder, like ethnic black Spanish people, they take it a little harder when their child is trans. Not so much when a trans man, not so much when a female transitions to a male, but a lot of people take it very hard when a male transitions into a woman. So this show hits very home to me because I went through a really bad transition into from my family. My family took it very hard. My mother was a very devout Christian. She was a chaplain of the church. She was a deaconess in the church. She went to church 5 days a week, honey. My two brothers and I, she was an older woman who adopted us, and she took it very hard. And she ultimately, my sisters, ultimately too, one of them in general, I'm not going to put no names out there, perpetuated it more because it was in the early 90s when HIV and AIDS was running really rapid, and a lot of straight people, every straight person thought, as well as they still do today, and I'm going to get to that a little later, that all gay people or trans people, you know, because they put us all in the same category, they conglomerate us all together. They just thought we all had AIDS or we all gonna catch AIDS, honey. So when I came out as trans, honey, they just said, you got to eat off paper plates and plastic spoons. They literally had my food wrapped up for me when I came home from school, and that was like 15, 16 years old, and they literally treated me like that. They monitor everything I took out the refrigerator and stuff. They just really made it really hard for me to just coexist. So I basically left home. I was basically forced out of my home because they made the living situation so unbearable that I just wanted to leave. I just left. And then shortly, I found a group of people just like the house scene in this show Pose. A group of people in my town, Bridgeport, Connecticut, where I was born, who took me in. A drag queen took me in under their wing and kind of molded me and shaped me into the woman I am today. Well, help that. And then a couple of months later, my adopted mother died, who was my mother. She's the person I feel is my mother. She's the person that raised me, even though she took everything pretty hard, what I became, very hard, but she still is my mother to this day. She died a couple of months after that, and I went back to the house and I went to the funeral, and I'm gonna get off me and I'm gonna get on the show in a minute. But I went back to the house, guys, and they told me, basically, I went to the funeral and everything, and they said, well, I was 15, 16 at the time, okay? I was legally emancipated in court because of this, guys, because I was adopted, and her biological daughters did not want me. They said, we can accept you being gay, but you can't dress as a woman if you come down to Atlanta with me. And I'm like, I'm not gay, I'm trans. And back then, it's not all these explanations, and it wasn't even really in the dictionary back then. They just didn't really get it like it is now. Social media and everything helps to explain all these things, guys. Back then, it was really no explanation. They just thought you was gay, or they thought you wanted to dress like a woman. They didn't understand what it is to be a transgender or what it is to be transsexual. They didn't get it back then, and some people still don't get it, but I think they understand a lot more now. So I was forced to basically live out on my own, and that's where I feel like Damon, the show Damon, I believe his name, the young man in the show Pose, who's kind of scoped it around somewhat, I feel I relate to him greatly in the show, guys, because what he's gone through, or what he's going through in the show, that happened to me. That literally, my family basically forced me out of the house, right? So that happened to me, so I can relate, and I started crying when I watched the first episode, and I went to watch a couple of episodes before I made a video on this, guys. That show is amazing. It's something that is needed to be done. This is groundbreaking. I believe it's five trans women, all cast. This is a groundbreaking show. It's after the first show was already renewed for a whole nother season already, okay? That's how over that first episode was, guys, okay? You guys don't realize, anyone in LBGT don't realize how groundbreaking this is for the LBGT people, honey, okay? This was groundbreaking show to come to the forefront, and it needed to come to the forefront because I think it's going to open a lot of eyes, and I think it needed to be out there. Later on in the show, I'm going to break down the difference between mopping, clipping, and crafting, okay? So later on in this video, I will break down that. What is the meanings and what is the difference. So let me start this out by saying, so Dominique or Electra, as you all know, I know her as Tyra. I grew up with her. We are old friends. We know each other 23 years ago. We used to hang with each other back in the early 90s on Christopher Street back in the day, honey. Okay, we good Judies. We lived in Jersey City. Very tall, beautiful statuette. She models professionally as a woman and everything. Beautiful woman, stunning woman. Okay, I'm so proud of her, what she has become. No one ever would think, when you're young trans back in those days, you would never think that we would ever be anything. You just wouldn't think it. She has a career now in acting and modeling. I have my own career, and I'm just so proud of what both of us has become. But it's good to see her make her dreams come true, because she was trying to model way back then. Okay. And I love what she plays on the show. She comes across as this very opulent, upscale, uptown, high sedity girl, honey, and the reading is on point. I love how she handles her house members and everything. I think they casted the right person for that part. She's over. I'm so proud of you, Tyra. That shit is over. I love the show. I love Blanca too. Blanca's role, she broke away from from Tyra's house, the house that Tyra was in. She broke away from there, and she started her own house, and there she kind of battling Tyra. And I love that Tyra went and bailed her out of the clink, honey. She got locked because Blanca reminds me a lot of myself. I'm a Taurus, so when I have something on my mind, I'm gonna complete it to the fullest, and I feel like I want to show people who I am and what I'm capable of. So she went to the gay club in New York, and this really happens, guys. I know a lot of people think, oh, that doesn't really happen. It does happen in some gay clubs, guys. They do not like trans women in the club. That happened to me 20 years ago. Me and my roommate in New York met a guy in a club. He's like, let's go to a club. So we went downtown to a club. The guy said at the door, it was a white guy that was with us, said he could come in, but you guys can't. If y'all don't have no ID, y'all can't come in here. Okay? And I had a Connecticut ID. He said, no, you need to have a New York ID. So they do discriminate, and I understood she keep going back and forth and stuff like that, and I'm glad she kind of fought for what she wanted to fight for, guys. I know a lot of you guys probably thought she was stupid, but I understood what she was trying to mean, because she wanted equality for all across the board, and there still are some separation in the LBGT community right now. A lot of the butch queens or regular gay men, as you want to call them, they look at some of the trans women like that. So I'm glad that they touched on that as well. That was groundbreaking to touch on, because a lot of people don't like to touch on those subjects because they feel like it's going to cause a rift in the community. But I'm glad Electra went and bailed her out. Electra wanted her to know, listen, even though we are in competition, darling, okay, you still my sister, you still my daughter, and I'm still going to bail you out, but make sure your ass is at that ball tomorrow, she told her, because she said she wants her revenge, okay? And I love how she jumped in her taxi and made Blanca take the motherfucking train home. She said the train is 2 blocks away. That was over. And I love how Tyra goes to the balls and snatches all the trophies, and she puts them in her red wagon and wheels them down the street, darling. That is everything. She cleans up when she goes to the balls. And she does that in real life too, guys. She really cleans up when she goes to balls. No shade, she does. And Angel. I love Angel. I love the role she plays. This really does happen in New York, guys, especially back then. Guys really did take the girls out, honey. They really did, rich, affluent, sugar daddies, Wall Street executives, and things, honey. They really did take the girls out honey, they took them out and they put them up in high-priced hotels when they have wife and children at home. This really did happen, and it still goes on to this day, honey. My girlfriend just had her sugar daddy buy her a brand new BMW, and he has a whole wife and kids at home. Okay, so that still goes on to this day. They know they can't be with you openly because they have this image to uphold to their family and people at their jobs and things, but they will take care of a doll. And I love what he said basically he was the one playing dress up because he was pretending to be something he wasn't. And what he was basically saying is he was a man that was attracted to trans women, and he was falling in love with this trans woman, and the trans woman's living in her truth, but he wasn't. He had to have his wife and kids at home to perpetuate or to pose or mask his true identity and what he truly is and what he was truly wanting to do, and was to be with her. So he went and brought her a nice little condo, put her up in a nice penthouse somewhere in Manhattan, darling. Okay, he made his wish come true. He doesn't want her stripping and stuff like that. Let's see if Angel messed this up in further seasons, honey. And the legendary actor and thespian, honey, Billy Porter, plays the MC. The MC is the person that calls out the categories at the balls, and he chops people and all this and all that. He disses people. He reads, honey, he reads them down on the floor, honey. He's been reading them down on the floor, honey. I live for him, and he's a very, very, very famous. I believe he won a few awards for Broadway and he's a very famous actor, and I think they picked the best person for that part. I love the part he plays in that. I think he helps bring it all to life, and it reminds me of the older school days, because the older school ballroom scene is so different than the way it's done now. It's so different. You also see old friends that I know loosely, like Miss Rose, legendary Miss Rose, honey, and the legendary Naomi, the Vogue master extraordinaire. You see them in the show. They do a few cameos in the show. It was great to see them in the show. It's great to incorporate people that are really in the ballroom scene in the show. I'm glad they just didn't get trans actresses to do this. I'm glad they got real ballroom kids to do this. I think that was very important because they're authentic when they taking real people that are in the ballroom scene to bring this to fruition. And what a lot of people don't realize is, back then, reason why realness was a big thing back then, because people were killed and murdered. Like, trans women are killed and murdered nowadays, right? Back then, they were murdered in great numbers, honey. They were murdered in great numbers, and they were cold cases because the cops didn't care. The detectives did not care about you being trans and if you got murdered or not. They just didn't give a fuck, honey. You got killed, and they was like, okay, this was another tranny trying to fool somebody, and they got murdered. And we all know that's not the case. That's what the straight people want you to believe, that we out here fooling people, but these boys be knowing, honey. Okay, they be bobbing and weaving and ducking and diving. But anyway, we're gonna get to that a little later. I'm looking forward to where this is going, where this show is gonna go in the near future. A few episodes down, I'll do another video on the show. I just wanted to give my opinion up front about it, and I'm very proud of the whole cast. Okay, so any people of the straight community that watch this show, I believe everybody should watch this show. This show is groundbreaking. This show is amazing, and some of the terms I understand you guys don't know, so I'm gonna tell you what these terms are. Now, mopping was the term that was used for basically going into the department store and stealing. Okay, a lot of the kids back then didn't have jobs. They didn't have good jobs like I do now, or they weren't able, unless you were super real, honey, and you had your ID and it says female and everything like that. Back then, it was very hard to do because you had to have special papers from doctors. The doctors did not want to do it back then. They were scared to lose their license and stuff like that, to fraudulently put F on your birth certificate and things like that, get paperwork, because back then you only can get it done if you had a sex change back then. Okay, that's only how they did it, honey. Okay, so mopping is going into a store, stealing something to wear it at a ball or something like that. And, boosting, mopping, that's all the same thing. The straight people say boosting, gay people say mopping, honey. Okay, that's when you go in with oversized clothes and you put stuff down there. Okay, clipping is when you actually take it from a person. A lot of the girls used to clip the dates, honey. A lot of the girls used to clip the dates, go open their wallet, take the credit cards, take the money, and go max those credit cards out, honey. Crafting is the art of taking a fraudulent check, or credit cards and making fraudulent purchases. That is what crafting is. So a lot of times girls used to clip the dates and go crafting. That happened a lot, baby. Clip the dates and go crafting with their credit cards and their checks, okay? Lastly, this is what I want to say. I understand this is a show about the LBGT and the ballroom scene and what happened back then, and people fighting for trans rights and LBGT rights and things like that. But what a lot of people have been pointing out, and I've seen this too, and I think it's a little disgusting that you're doing this, they're putting HIV commercials on after HIV and AIDS commercials, protection commercials on after that, after the show. And it's bringing across a message to the straight community that all gay people or people of the LBGT are promiscuous, for one, that we all have HIV and AIDS and we all don't, okay? And no shade to anyone that does, but we don't. And I just feel like it's sending a message. Now, it's a lot of people that do other things. It's a lot of people that do other things in other communities are very promiscuous in the straight communities as well. Why not put it on after Love and Hip Hop? Some of these people are just as promiscuous as the LBG, some of the LBGT. It's promiscuous people in all walks of life is what I want to say, okay? So you cannot, or you should not take what was said in the past and still bring it to fruition in the forefront, or take what people think of the community and put it out there like that. You should do it for every demographic. It's a lot of demographics of people out there that are promiscuous. Put it, there's a lot of people having unprotected sex, and for some reason, and by you saying that, it almost brings it across to the straight community that, okay, I'm good, I'm not gay, so I can't catch it. Anybody can catch HIV, honey, or AIDS, or hepatitis C, or anything. You should always protect yourself if you're not sure if your partner is being monogamous with you, okay? And if you just meet someone, you should always protect yourself. You should not take someone's word as their bond, honey. That's how things get transacted, and that's how that's how you end up with some type of disease, honey. You can't take someone's word at their bond. You cannot take someone's word that's what it is, honey. You should always protect yourself and do what you need to do to make sure yourself is okay, okay? So anyway, guys, that's my take on this show Pose, honey. I probably will be doing another one of these videos in a few, maybe about 4 or 5 episodes down the line, okay? So this is your girl, Lady Naomi. Like and subscribe to me on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Snapchat, darling, okay? Bye-bye. I hope they see you soon. Everyone, please watch this show. This show is amazing. Give it a try. Watch a couple of episodes, and please support the LBGT community and the trans community, okay? I love everyone. Bye-bye. Bye.